The Haunted Hospital. There's a place on the edge of town that no one talks about, a hulking structure of crumbling brick and shattered windows known as St. Mercy's Hospital. It had been abandoned for decades, its halls echoing only with the whispers of the wind and the secrets of the dead. But the locals avoided it for more than its derelict state. They claimed the hospital was cursed, haunted by the spirits of those who had suffered and died within its walls. When I first heard about St. Mercy's, I was intrigued. As a journalist specializing in uncovering the macabre and unexplained, this seemed like the perfect story. Tales of nurses disappearing into thin air, ghostly figures roaming the wards, and the sound of phantom screams piqued my curiosity. Against the warnings of locals, I decided to spend a night there. The air grew colder as I approached the hospital, my flashlight cutting through the dense fog that blanketed the parking lot. The front doors, rusted and warped, hung ajar, as if inviting me inside. As I crossed the threshold, the stale scent of mildew and decay assaulted my senses. The lobby was a cavernous space, its ceiling sagging and walls stained with watermarks. A defunct reception desk sat at the center, covered in a thick layer of dust. Despite the building's silence, I felt watched, as though countless eyes were observing my every move. The stories I'd heard from the townsfolk echoed in my mind. They spoke of patients who died horrific deaths during experimental treatments, of doctors who'd gone mad, and of a mysterious fire that had killed dozens of staff and patients. Some said the spirits of those trapped in the blaze still roamed the halls, their pain binding them to the hospital. I started in the East Wing, where the surgical theaters were located. The operating rooms were frozen in time, their rusted surgical tools strewn about as if abandoned in a hurry. A flicker of movement caught my eye, a shadow darting past the doorway. I called out, but my voice was swallowed by the oppressive silence. Continuing deeper into the hospital, I reached the children's ward. The peeling wallpaper depicted cheerful balloons and cartoon animals, a stark contrast to the desolation that filled the room. Tiny beds lined the walls, their mattresses rotting and springs exposed. A faint giggle broke the silence, soft and fleeting, like a child playing a game. I spun around, but the ward was empty. My flashlight beam danced across the walls, landing on a small stuffed bear sitting upright on one of the beds. It hadn't been there before. "Hello," I called, my voice trembling. The bear fell over on its own, landing with a soft thud. By the time I reached the psychiatric ward, unease had settled deep in my bones. The air was heavier here, the temperature dropping noticeably. The cells where patients had been confined were lined with heavy iron doors, many of which were left ajar. Inside, I found scratch marks gouged into the walls and cryptic phrases scrawled in faded blood-red paint. "They're watching. No escape. Help us." As I stood in one of the cells, the door creaked shut behind me. Panic surged as I tried to force it open, but it wouldn't budge. Then I heard it, a low, guttural whisper, right against my ear. "Leave." The door suddenly swung open, and I stumbled into the hallway. My heart pounded as I tried to rationalize what had just happened. Determined to get to the bottom of the hospital's mystery, I made my way to the basement, where the morgue was located. The stairs groaned under my weight, and the air grew colder with each step. The morgue was a labyrinth of tiled walls and steel tables, the drawers for corpses eerily intact. As I explored, a faint humming filled the air, a soft melody that sent chills down my spine. It grew louder, more insistent, until it seemed to emanate from all around me. The drawers began to rattle, one by one, the sound echoing like a drumbeat. Then the lights flickered. In the dim glow, I saw them. Shadowy figures emerged from the walls, their forms indistinct but radiating an overwhelming sense of anguish. They surrounded me, their hollow eyes staring into my soul. "Why are you here?" one of them asked, its voice echoing as if spoken from a great distance. "I'm here to understand," I stammered. "Understand?" another figure hissed. "You cannot understand our pain." The humming grew deafening, and the shadows pressed closer. Images flooded my mind, patients screaming in agony, nurses weeping as they tried to save lives, flames consuming the building. I felt their despair, their anger, their unending torment. When I opened my eyes, I was alone again, the shadows gone. But the air was different, heavier, as if the hospital itself was alive and breathing. I decided to leave, but the hospital had other plans. As I retraced my steps, the hallway seemed to shift and twist, leading me in circles. The walls closed in, and the whispers grew louder, more insistent. "You cannot leave," they chanted. "You belong to us now." The final straw came when I reached the lobby, only to find the front doors gone. In their place was a solid wall, as if the exit had never existed. Panic surged as I banged on the wall, screaming for help. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder. Spinning around, I came face to face with a nurse. Her uniform was pristine, her face serene, but her eyes were hollow voids. "Your shift is just beginning," she said, her voice calm but menacing. The hospital came alive. Lights flickered, alarms blared, and the walls trembled. Figures appeared in the shadows, patients, doctors, nurses, all staring at me with expressions of anger and sorrow. I ran, but there was no escape. Every hallway led back to the lobby, where the nurse waited, her empty eyes following my every move. Now, I sit in one of the hospital's rooms, writing this account in the hopes that someone will find it. The whispers are louder now, the shadows closer. I can feel them watching, waiting for me to join them. If you ever hear about St. Mercy's Hospital, stay away. The spirits within are not at rest, and once you enter, you'll never leave.